Back to our breaking news right now. First in Manchester, England, trying to figure out what's happening on board this Qatar Airways plane that is now on the ground. Reuters reports a man was escorted off that plane, and the airport we mentioned a few moments ago is back open. A few more updates. Sky News, our sister network, says the passengers are still on board. The plane's in the cargo area, are there for police to investigate. They say it's an isolated incident, and officials want to find out what led the captain, or the pilot rather, to think the device was suspicious. John Bolton with me now, former U.S. ambassador at the UN and Fox News contributor, and you've been watching and listening to this. What can you add on what's happening in England now, sir?
Well, I think they should take this very seriously. I think the possibilities of terrorist strikes remain high, and whether this plane originated in England on its way to Qatar or came from Qatar on its way to England, it still provides opportunities for a terrorist threat. So I think the authorities are entirely justified in taking this seriously. We'll have to see what happens after further investigation.
Yeah, one other thing on this, some are suggesting it left Manchester and was forced to come back to Manchester. Other reports say it came from Doha, Qatar. We don't know if it's A or B right now, sir.
Right, but coming between one of the two of them, it could be if it's coming from Doha, a potential terrorist would want to have a detonation over UK soil, or it could be they saw suspicious behavior as they were just leaving Manchester. So either scenario is plausible, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately indeed. To Afghanistan now, this is more breaking news. Apparently friendly fire. An Afghan wearing an army uniform opened fire at the U.S. base just east of Kabul. You've got a lot of NATO forces there, too, and frankly, a lot of American forces. The early reports suggest 12 Americans have been injured. It is a very difficult thing to figure out who is friend and who is foe in Afghanistan today.
Well, I think, unfortunately, it's the shape of things to come as we continue to draw down. I think Taliban have tried to infiltrate the Afghan National Army with great success, and I think they see our continued statements that we're getting out, that combat operations are over, that we're going to have a much smaller footprint and maybe even complete U.S. withdrawal, and this is Taliban signaling to us and to the other Afghans we can penetrate even into the inner sanctum of NATO forces. They've conducted terrorist attacks in Kabul. I think there's more of this to come, unfortunately, if we're determined to pull out.
Your hunch is Taliban, right? But it right. Could be a sympathizer as well, but not necessarily under the category Taliban, right?
Right. It amounts to the same thing, though. I think Taliban or its supporters are showing they think they've got the upper hand. Our influence is declining, and they're determined to prove this so that they rally people to their side.
In June of this year, 2 months ago, 2 U.S. military advisors, they were wounded when an Afghan policeman opened fire on them. Go back to February this year, 2 U.S. soldiers killed by 2 individuals wearing Afghan National Security Force uniforms. This is a tough thing to get through. How do we do that when there's an expected withdrawal coming in months away?
Well, I think that's the mistake. I think it was a mistake to think you can create an Afghan National Army when the conditions for nationhood are not there. And the lesson for us is that we need to be there much longer than we were in the case of Iraq. We see the chaos there. And I think if the administration continues to push for withdrawal from Afghanistan, we will see chaos there. But not for long, because I'm afraid Taliban's going to take over fairly quickly after our departure, thus, in effect, tragically sacrificing all of the lost lives that we put into that country.
All right. Thank you, sir, for coming on today, okay? Breaking news in 2 areas. We're watching them both. John Bolton.